Hey everybody, Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast. Today it is the 19th of February, 2023. And on today's show, a look back at yesterday, a massive day in Big 12 hoops. Kansas with a resounding victory. Oklahoma, Texas play in a Red River Classic. Texas Tech scores a huge victory. Mike Miles is back, and K-State stops their slide. There's really something to get to in every single game.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. Also, find us wherever you get your podcast. So if you can't watch on YouTube, you guys can listen to the show. Follow us on Twitter at LOBig12, and you guys can find me at JoshNeighbors_. Today's show is brought to you all by the folks at LinkedIn. If you need a job, or if you need to find somebody to hire for a job, LinkedIn's the best place to go. More from our friends at LinkedIn coming up. Plenty of coverage. We had some all last week about Brett Yormark's comments about the Pac-12 on the Wilner and Canzano podcast and conference expansion. That conversation will continue, obviously, during the weeks. But really, after a day like yesterday, we have to talk about all Big 12 hoops on this Sunday show, as we should. And I want to just mention this again, like best conference in America, we know that. But to reinforce it, they kept showing, I think they made this graphic, they play us. The graphic of the average net ranking for the Big 12 schools. It was, I'm blanking now if it was 26.8 or 28.6. And the number doesn't matter. The thing that matters is the next closest conference, the average rating, it was the Big 10 at like 58. The Big 12 is 30 spots ahead in terms of average net ratings. Now, if you have more teams, sure, people have to lose. But also, it's a conference where everybody plays somebody. So inherently, everybody is taking L's. But, I mean, this is a conference where the quality is just over the top. And I think we showed it again. Oklahoma is your last place team, and they pushed first place Texas to the brink on the road. And you know why? It's not about the depth of talent, because I don't think Oklahoma is as talented as Texas is. It's about the quality of coaching. And I know things, there's some animosity not animosity, but there is some friction happening at places like Oklahoma right now. But you cannot deny the fact that a guy like Porter Moser is a phenomenal coach, because, you had a game where they beat the brakes off of Alabama, number one team in the country. And then there's obviously the game where they were at the limit, pushed to the limit when they were pushing KU to the limit on the road. They pushed Texas to the limit on the road. They were up for most of that game. And so you're seeing it every single week. Even Mark Adams now is having himself a resurgence as well. So there's so much quality of coaching. I think it speaks to that average net rating, that depth we're talking about. But we got to start. Biggest result of the day yesterday, wearing the Baylor shirt, supporting you guys after the loss. What a tale of essentially not just two halves. It felt like I was watching two separate basketball games. Kansas 87, Baylor 71. At halftime, it was Baylor 45, KU 32. Now, the big point was, if you watch this game, it felt like it was more. Second half, Kansas outscores Baylor 55-26. Kansas, I thought the relentless rebounding, I thought the effort of Jalen Wilson, number one, is what kept them in the basketball game. His pursuit on the glass was tremendous in a game where he was not very efficient overall, 6 for 16, but I think he was 3 for his first 12 or 3 for his first 11. He puts up 21 and 13. He misses every single three he takes, but he got to the line 10 times. He made 9 of them. He grabbed 4 offensive rebounds, 13 overall on the day, and that was a huge difference. DeJuan Harris, scoreless in the first half, ends up scoring 14 points in the second half. 6 of 8 shooting, nailed the 2 threes, 9 assists. And you can tell, guys, there's just a different look about the way he plays, and we saw it half to half. There's aggressive DeJuan Harris, and then there is the second half, and there's the first half DeJuan Harris. And what happens is it feels like he just needs a kick in the ass sometimes, because he's a talent. He's not a scorer. He's not. That's not what he is. But he actually gets to the paint. He's got a really good touch around the rim. He seems to find angles, likes to lay it, offhand certain ways. He knows he's short, so he doesn't go too close to the paint sometimes. And he's good at choosing angles, and he's a great passer. He's a really good passer. But that aggression level, when they make everybody defend, they do a good job. Also, somebody else I want to mention, KJ Adams. I thought he does a good job of swinging the ball. He knows when to get it down there and shoot, and he knows when it's time to move it on the perimeter, whether they play 4 out. He's really good at that stuff. So I was really impressed how they attacked in the second half. And look, Grady Dick was 6 of 18, so it's not like this is some tremendous day for him. It's 33%. But 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals. And I thought his play was elevated yesterday, too. They got 10 points. I thought, Pettiford gave him some really good minutes, as did Ernest Uday, who only gave him 7, but I thought KJ Adams was a big reason of that. KJ Adams staying out of foul trouble is massive for them. He played 34 minutes, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. And so I thought their effort, KU ends up shooting 51% from the floor in this game. And Baylor didn't do a bad job either. They're 44-40 from 3. But KU's defense and their rebounding in the second half was absolutely massive to me. And I thought Baylor was too messy with the basketball later on in that game. And when Kansas was going on the run, it felt like a lot of one-and-done possessions, some tough shots from Keontae George, some turnovers thrown in there as well. They were not as good at sealing the deal as they should have been. It goes back to, and once again, Kansas is one of the best 5 teams in the country. There's no doubt about that. I think after yesterday, there is no doubt KU is one of the best 5 teams in the country. And I think obviously you could go 4, you could go 3, you could go 2. If you want to make the argument for Kansas as the number 1 team in America, I'm not going to stop you. I think there's an argument for Houston. I think there's an argument for Alabama. I think there's an argument still for Purdue, right? So, I think it's kind of a dealer's choice at this point in time when it comes to the number 1 team in the country. But, I'm not sure how down on the Baylor Bears should we be after yesterday's results? It's a big question for me. Could I see this happening in a tournament game? Yes, because usually the Baylor barrage, that's what I called it back in 2021. The Baylor barrage is one thing the other team could not recover from. KU got up from this Baylor barrage and they stuck in the game. And guys, this was a 5-point game within a minute and a half in the second half. This was fast. And I think Baylor sometimes, because of its, I don't always call it spread and chuck, but because of the way their offense operates, it does empower guys sometimes to take early shots in the shot clock. And in certain settings of the game, that can be bad. And then I don't know. I think I also got mad at them earlier in the season too, that the Texas game maybe for being a bit too, actually no, it was the other Kansas game. They were up big and they kind of were too slow in the end of that game and weren't making the right decisions. So I think there's a kind of a mix, and I think they have to figure out what is the other mode they can do. Who needs to get involved? Do they need to run some more pick and roll? Do they need to run guard pick and roll? Does it get Bridges more involved? What do you do when the threes are not going in? Because they hit 9 threes in the first half. Guys, they made more threes in the first half yesterday than 6 other Big 12 teams made in the entire game, the games they played yesterday. Look at the numbers. They hit 9 first half threes. The problem is they hit 1 second half 3. And that's what allowed, and Kansas, guys, was all over them. It was fast. That game, Baylor was up 13 at halftime, and that game was over with 8 minutes left. It felt like it was over with 8 minutes left. So Baylor's got ability. They've got a lot of talent. They rely on those 3 guys pretty heavily, but they need to mix other stuff in because if Bridges and Tchamwa Tchatchoua aren't going and those 3 guys are starting to miss, you need some other outlets, you need some other options. And I don't know if it's Langston Love. They get more involved. 14 minutes yesterday, just took 3 shots, was 1 for 3, 0 for 2 from 3. I don't know if it's JT. He played, he doesn't like that. He played 25 minutes yesterday. But these teams are starting to shorten up their rotation. They need to find more answers in offense. And the same thing could be said for Kansas. That's why it was so important that DeJuan Harris played so well and was really efficient while playing, because they need him. They absolutely need him to be involved. There's no doubt about that. So this was a compelling game. Bill Self, they've got that team in the not the driver's seat, but look at the Big 12 standings now. What's left to go? Kansas and Texas are up top. Baylor is one back now, and Baylor's got another game coming up they've got Texas left. That game is at Baylor, so they've got that one in hand. KU now, guys, if serve holds, and look, they'll probably lose another game. They've got at TCU Monday nights. we'll get to TCU in a second, guys. West Virginia, Texas Tech, both at home, and Texas. So if if KU can run the table to that Texas game, then they will have that game for them will be for at least for the chance at an outright conference championship. Now, we don't know what will happen before then, right? They could lose to TCU. Then things get jumbled once again. But if they go out the rest of the way, they'll be playing Texas. That game will be outright. Now, obviously, it makes sense because they're in first place right now. To win the rest of their games, you play other teams in first place. It will. But there's a chance that they're actually guaranteed at least a share going into that game, right? If Texas were to win all of their games except for the Baylor game and go into that final game, one game back of KU, then there you go. That game is for an outright Big 12 championship for Kansas, and it would be a tied Big 12 championship now for Texas. But KU and Texas, the two teams right now, Baylor, that loss kind of hurts you, but still, I think they're a fantastic team, and we'll see what happens moving forward. All right, so second biggest result of the day. It depends on where you want to go. If you want to talk about NCAA tournament stage, just making the tournament, we have to go to that West Virginia game. If you want to talk about a team making a statement, let's go and talk about what happened. TCU 100 and Oklahoma State 75. I saw somewhere in the TCU tweeted out, last 25 years, this is the best offensive, I think, shooting percentage wise, second best game a team has had in the Big 12 in the last 25 years in a conference game. They shot 68% from the floor, 53% from three, and they were still 14 to 22 from the line. They turned over the ball 16 times, and they still scored 100 points. This is because, guys, and I've said this a bunch, and I will keep saying it and keep saying it and keep saying it. When Mike Miles is playing for them, and he looks like, by the way, he was same old Mike Miles, there is a confidence not just about him, but about the rest of the team. He goes 15 yesterday, 4 for 8, and had 5 turnovers. He wasn't like all the way back. But the confidence that this team had, and they get 14 minutes out of Eddie Lampkin, was not this impressive performance, but they're easing him back. And Miller goes 8 for 12. Miles 4 of 8. Peavy 4 of 6. Ball 7 for 9. Cork 3 for 3. Coles 2 for 2. O'Bannon 4 of 6. These guys, they go 8 deep, and Wells too. Sorry, Wells was 6 of 9. I'm thinking about him. They go 8 or 9 deep, right? That's kind of the group that they're going to play, which is more than a lot of teams are playing at this point in the season. And when Mike Miles is out there, their confidence level is different. Everybody on that team is not meant to circle around Mike Miles, but they're supposed to be like, he is the guy who's supposed to bail them out of tough situations. He is the guy that can break people down off the dribble. He is the guy that can take and make tough twos. He is the guy that can demand attention for other guys. They can do it the dribble drive. They can do it with some shooting. And everybody, you could just tell the confidence level that they had with him back on the court. It was a machine once again. They're 18-9. They're 7-7 in the conference. I'm wondering now, because here's the thing, and actually this is really good for them. They're not in the Big 12 title chase, which means this, that their priority the rest of the season needs to be finding that mode they had yesterday, finding the mode they had against KU. Obviously, you're not going to be that good shooting the rock, but can you get there and can you maintain that? The Big 12 tournament is going to be that dry run for the NCAA tournament. I told you all this before. I will say it once again. The first team that I said can make the Final Four out of the Big 12, and look, we knew it would come for a bunch of teams, but I said it on the show. The first team that checked the box was TCU. TCU was the first team this season that I saw out of the Big 12 that I said, Final Four, they can do it. They can do it. And Derek Johnson of Locked On Jayhawks had a really, I thought, astute point that he tweeted at me yesterday. He said, I think their A-plus game is the best A-plus game in the Big 12. They're maybe more inconsistent and had to deal with the injuries, but top level is as good as anyone in the country. And I agree with that. And I told him afterwards, maybe I think it's good they're not in a Big 12 title chase, because what is the concern for TCU? It's seeding. It's finding that top gear. And guess who they get on Monday, boys and girls? They get TCU. So fire me the hell up for another big Monday matchup, which is going to have massive, massive NCAA tournament seeding and kind of quality of play, stakes on the line in that one, but a massive win for the Horned Frogs. All right, quick word from our sponsors, and then we'll hit on K-State. We'll hit on West Virginia. Losing to Texas Tech, who's maybe now in the mix. Who knows? We'll see. There's a whole lot to get to. First, though, a word from our friends at LinkedIn. Every single hire now can feel like it's a high-stakes wager for you and your small business. So you guys need to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences that you need to achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find those qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and the conditions, folks, they do apply. All right, so coming up here, let's do it. I thought the next big result, I know K-State was a big one, but guys, let's mention Texas Tech beating West Virginia on the road now. This is massive, guys. Texas Tech is not out of, I mentioned this the other day. Texas Tech is not out of this. They're now 54 in the net ratings. They're 4-9 in quad one games. So that is pretty big. Now they're 0-3 in quad two, which does hurt them, but they don't have any quadrant three losses. So they're 4-12 in quad one and two, but they're starting to improve and they're playing their best basketball. Do I think this team makes the NCAA tournament? No, I do not think they make the NCAA tournament. But what we have to mention is how well that they've been playing right now. I think it would be foolish to say that this team is not going to have some kind of impact on how this thing goes down at the end of the year. Let's see. I know Jerry Palm, he updated yesterday. So Texas Tech not involved for him. And then for Joe Lenardi on his front, I don't think he had them involved either. He does not have Texas. Yeah, no Texas Tech. But what you all have to understand now is that Texas Tech has gotten themselves, they have the same exact record as West Virginia. All right. They are 4-10 in the league and they are 14-10 overall. Well, West Virginia's net rating is a lot better. They're, 8-12 in quad one and two. So that obviously is going to help them a lot more in that situation. They're 5-11 in quad one games. But in the league, those two teams are tied now. And, it's funny as both those teams got each other on their home courts. So 15-12 now for Texas Tech. Is that good enough to make the NCAA tournament? If the season ended today? Absolutely not. That's not what I am saying. But our good buddy Robbie Triano over from SiriusXM the other day was in a Texas Tech space on Twitter where they were discussing, can we still make the NCAA tournament? And he's like, these people are lunatics. They're crazy. And I thought the same thing too. And I love you Tech fans. He's like, it's just the pie in the sky. Well, when you play so many good teams all the time, your chances, they're there. And right now for them, they've won, 5 of the last 7 with a road win. LSU, not a great win, but still it's a road win. They've beaten Iowa State. They have beaten there's 13 in the country. They have beat number 12, Kansas State. They beat number 6, Texas, and they got a road win now. And also in 2 days, this is a massive, massive game for them because here's what they have. They've got at Oklahoma, TCU, at Kansas, and Oklahoma State. If they can go 3-1 the rest of the way, they go 3-1. That will put them overall at, 3-1 puts them at 18-13. And that would also put them at 7-11 in conference play. Folks, it's definitely in play. Texas Tech is right here. And I'll be honest, guys, for as much crap as Mark Adams has taken this year, Texas Tech wanted it more yesterday. Texas Tech wanted that basketball game more because Stevenson was going crazy and they were down late in that game and Texas Tech fought themselves all the way back into it. They went ahead. They were better crashing the glass late in the game. And I think right now, it's crazy to say this because they're not in the NCAA tournament field, but that looks like a top 25 basketball team, especially when you add in Fardaws Aimaq with the way that he's playing. So it's so funny how these things work that a team right now that is outside the top 20 or outside the NCAA tournament bubble, it's 4-10 in the league and 3 games over 500, we could say that this group is a top 25 basketball team. But they look like it, especially when you start to get contributions from a guy like a Jalen Tyson, who was 11 for 15 yesterday, 27 points and 5 rebounds. And, on a day where Kevin O'Banner only gives you 4, right? And Fardaws Amac, he was horrific from the field yesterday. But a guy who has been a bad free throw shooter goes to the free throw line and he makes all 10 of his free throws. He was, all of them yesterday. I think he was 72% last year, so that's pretty good for him. But 62 the year before and 42 his freshman year. This is not a guy who has been a killer at the free throw line. He goes to the free throw line yesterday and lights this thing up. And it's amazing that they've gotten him back. And now, there was so much drama with him earlier in the season. And, Pop Isaacs got back yesterday. He scored, I know he's been back, but all right, I'm not sure if his first game back, whatever. But he gives them 15 points. They're starting to develop scoring options. And I think Davion Harmon starting to look more like the guy that he should be. He should be a really good player. From what he showed, he's been at so many different schools, but what he showed at OU, what he showed at Oregon, that guy should be a good player. Texas Tech guys, Texas Tech is going to have their say. Not sure about the NCAA tournament, but do you want to play Texas Tech in the Big 12 tournament? Not sure I do, the way they're playing right now. Opportunities at OU, an opportunity, and they have to win that game. An opportunity against TCU at home, an opportunity against Oklahoma State at home. Those 3 chances are they have to take those and win those. At Kansas, going to be tough. But the rest of those, I think they're all tough, but they could do it. Texas Tech, they're not dead yet. Big result for them. West Virginia, their schedule's tough. I'm skeptical about the Big 12 getting 8 in the tournament. I do think, though, with the way Tech's playing, I do think we're heading towards one of Tech or West Virginia getting in. I feel like that's going to happen. Also, I think Oklahoma State's hanging on right now. I think they're good enough to where it is. But Lenardi, in his, let's see, he's got West Virginia as the last 4 byes. Kentucky wins yesterday. North Carolina plays today. Wisconsin, I think they got the win yesterday against Rutgers. No, they lost yesterday. So that's a big loss for them. So, yeah, there's going to be some movement. We'll see. All right, Kansas State gets themselves back in the win column. And, boy, it was a rock fight. It was a fist fight down all the rest of the way. But I thought the way that they dug deep yesterday, the Kansas State did, to win 61-55 in a game that was ugly. It was not pretty, but their defense holds Iowa State to 31% from the floor, 18.5% from three, so 19 will round up and be generous. There was 71 from the line, so not horrible there. They turned the ball over 15 times. It was not a pretty shooting day the other way around. Marquise Noel has just been, it's been difficult for him. He scored 20 points yesterday, mostly because of that free throw line. A lot of free throws yesterday around the conference. Keontae Johnson, we mentioned maybe he's hitting a wall a bit because, oh my God, the guy had barely played and he's coming this year and he's been awesome. 38 minutes yesterday. 15 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, give him a steal, 2 turnovers only. When you play 38 minutes, they run the offense through you. Didn't foul, and I was impressed. Would be is not a good enough word to put it, because Jerome Tang and their group needed this, and for them, their season's so curious because of the expectations preseason. They were not supposed to be very good, and when you think about where they are now, okay, it's a success. But you think about where they were in January, and you're like, damn, I feel like they could be better. But 20-7, it's a 20-win season. They're 8-6 in the league, and they at this point, it feels like they might be above 500 to finish this thing out. The rest of the way, they have got Baylor, tough. At Oklahoma State, tough. OU at home, should win that game, and at West Virginia. So they have a difficult stretch. I mean, they're all difficult stretches here in this league. The rest of the way, but I think closing the season out strong and getting yourself the tournament and seeing where the chips fall. And a lot of people still have them as a. It's crazy to think this, a number 12 in the country, but there has been some negative energy, I think, around this program recently, and they stopped that yesterday against Iowa State, who makes you work for everything. And they came back, they won that game, they fought the thing away. And once again, Iowa State's a couple in neutral site in road games. I'm worried about where the exterior, the outside scoring is going to, outside scoring, but I'm worried about where the scoring is going to come from, more about where the points are going to come from for this group when it comes down to, hey, can you guys make the tournament? Can you guys go far in the tournament? One last team to wrangle, if you will. One last game. A banger between our two outgoing friends, Texas 85, Oklahoma 83. Oklahoma was up for most of this game. This is a fun, exciting back and forth game. It was Sir Jabari Rice who had 24 points off the bench. He has been the difference maker for them all season. On a day where Marcus Carr went Marcus Carr mode and went, 43 minutes, by the way, for Marcus Carr. Shout out that, bro. 4 for 15, 0 for 7 from 3, did go 9 for 11 from the line, another inefficient day with the free throw line. And then also, Tyrese Hunter goes 2 of 7, which is tough. But Sir Jabari Rice hits the big shot towards the end of the game. This guy just hits big shot after big shot. He is such an important contributor for them off the bench. And I thought Oklahoma, they gave everything they had in this game. Texas was up to it, though, in the very end of it. Texas comes away with the win. I was pretty impressed. They forced 18 turnovers, although they gave up 83 points. But this was a back-and-forth game. They took that thing late. And here's how competitive this one was, guys. Halftime, 34-34. Full-time, 39-39. Overtime, Texas wins by 2, 12-10. And then there's just the scores by the period. So it was 34 all. Then it was, 34 plus 39 is, what's 83 minus 10? 73. So 73 all. And then obviously you get the win in the end for Texas. Big one for them. Big one for them. Kind of leaning Kansas, guys. I placed a Kansas future plus 310, I think is what I got of that in the FanDuel Sportsbook for them to win the Big 12. Feeling very, very good. Not all the way there yet. Feeling very, very good. Once again, it feels like we're colliding. We're heading towards a tie situation, multiple teams. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. One more word from our sponsors, and then I've got something I want to address here at the end of the show. Today's Locked On Big 12 podcast is brought to you all by Built Bar. You guys can go to built.com today. But wait, you now can go not just to built.com, but you guys can go to Walmart and Sam's Club to get Built Bars. At Walmart, they have the 4-pack. At Sam's Club, 13. 1-3. 1-3. There you go, 13. Not sure which one makes sense. 13-pack over there, the Baker's Dozen, you guys can get at Sam's Club today. They've got different flavors, got a bunch of different brownie flavors. They've got churro as well. It's delicious. You guys can check that out, built.com, Walmart, or Sam's Club. All right, something I want to address really quickly. So Jay Billis has brought this up. Seth Greenberg brought this up, and actually it's not a new point. The officiating in the Big 12, because they let them get after it. And I'll be honest, yesterday, they officiated games hard, but you're seeing a lot of guys go to the free throw line double-digit times, right? Fardaz Amack and Marcus Carr, and then I think Jalen, I'm not sure if Jalen Wilson did, but I mentioned all these guys going to the line a bunch. But everybody has said this over the last few years, that because the Big 12 lets the guys play, they'll go to the NCAA tournament and they're going to be not used to really ticky-tack whistles. I have not been a fan of this point because, number one, who has been in the national championship game? The last three last national championship games have all seen Big 12 teams in them. The last 3 national championships have all seen Big 12 teams in them. 2 of them have seen Big 12 teams win it. I do not believe in this theory. It's going around. Once again, Jay Billis, Seth Greenberg saying this. And Jay said it on the SiriusXM show last year, and Seth said it yesterday on television. And they said, they have to be careful because of the way that the referees are officiating it. They're not going to get away with that in the NCAA tournament. I haven't seen the proof that it's a huge problem. Maybe y'all can go look at the NCAA tournament foul numbers and there's something happening, but it has not impacted the success of Big 12 teams at all, whether it be in Iowa State last year, who made their money off of being physical, crap the bed down the stretch there, and they were still a really effective team in the NCAA tournament. TCU, I thought the bad whistle went their way against Arizona, but also, Kansas won the entire damn tournament. And I don't think the officiating or, them being too rough hurt them at all. So I'm interested about this point. I want to hear what you all think about this, but it's something that's kept coming up over the last couple of years, and it's not laid itself bare. It didn't lay itself bare for Baylor. No pun intended there. And that did not come to fruition to haunting Kansas. It didn't haunt many other Big 12 teams either. I thought the over physicality, it doesn't seem like the Big 12's elite teams are having any problem with this. Now, maybe for an Oklahoma State, maybe for an Iowa State, but once again, that was debunked last year. It's an issue. if you make your money off that physicality, maybe Texas Tech at time. But hey, even Chris Beard's defensive-minded Texas Tech Red Raiders made the championship game against the defensive-minded UVA Cavaliers. So I don't buy into the idea that the tough whistles, not getting as many tough whistles in the Big 12, which once again, not sure that was true yesterday at all. I'm not sure that's a factor when it comes to NCAA tournament time. Maybe I'll have to rue the day here with this one. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't see that being a factor this year. I didn't see it as a factor last year. Did not see it a factor as the 2 previous years when we had 2 Big 12 national champions, and also we had a Big 12 team make it and was just inches, one foul away, whatever you want to say, but another one. I just don't see that happening. All right, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You guys can find me at @JoshNeighbors_. Please subscribe to the channel as well. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.